Afternoon all. I had an interesting game last night playing in Herts League against Swanson, who's doing very well in the league. Up until this game, 8.5 out of 9. Staggering rating performance. Anyway, not put off, I tried to play an attacking game. I kicked off with knight f3. I tried to surprise him after d6 with b3. We have e5, d4, and actually he didn't play e4, which we both thought after the game might be like a reverse French defence for white. This type of position. If I can have a sort of reverse French defence strategy, that would be quite easy to play. He actually played e takes d4, and this does mean that actually the diagonal, because of this open centre, this bishop could be challenging this bishop later. Knight takes d4, knight f6, bishop b2, and now d5, which it is establishing potentially that c5 would be useful, but e3, bishop e7. Now bishop d3, and I was really a little bit optimistic. I'm sort of gazing over the f5 square here. He plays bishop g4, which provokes a weakness. Maybe I shouldn't have played this, but I played f3 because I was interested in playing g4 later. Bishop dropped back, knight d2, he castled, queen e2, and now g6, and I started being very optimistic here. I played g4 with the idea of a piece sack, which I'm not entirely sure is that sound. In fact, after c5 I do play this, but he doesn't take it with the pawn, and in fact checking this with an engine, there doesn't seem to be much compensation here. If he just takes with a pawn, takes this sort of position, I haven't really got that many concrete threats, it seems, in this position. It might actually be okay. Maybe as soon as e4 then d4 to shut down this bishop might actually be okay. Anyway, I think a bit of concern crept in, especially about being shown on YouTube. If it was a brilliant game with g takes, that would not be a great end to his season from a brilliant start. So he took with the bishop, but this does give me some g-file pressure after g takes. I believe I have a good position if I can use the g-file. But he's about to challenge my dark square bishop and expose my dark square weaknesses, as well as for everything check. So I thought it was important to castle queenside here to connect the rooks. Bishop f6, and now here, I just thought this was a good position, and I thought his king side's a bit weak. But on the other hand, e4, there might be knight f4. I thought, well, I can undouble the pawns and try and maybe use this diagonal if he ever takes with like this. So fg, and he did actually take fg, and I just think I've got a good position here intuitively, but unfortunately I go a bit crazy here finding an amazing resource, because I'm a bit concerned about bishop takes b2 followed by queen f6, and I know this idea of resource independence, trying to sort of stop resources, sometimes that can be the start of an opportunity, not a real problem, that the queen comes to f6. For example, in this position, if white plays f4, and let's imagine f4, and he took on b2, then I'm still looking forward to f5. Given queen f6 check, for example, king is quite safe here, and this doesn't seem very good for black actually. Say knight c6, f5. King safety is a bit of a problem, and this kind of variation would be absolutely amazing. This kind of thing is really just dangerous for black. So okay, so after bishop takes b2 here, this wouldn't be such a problem. So fg, and just this simple idea of f4 does seem good. It sort of plays on the trump card of the g file, but it's really allowing a resource. And I think the key thing to kind of try and indicate that this, to convince oneself that this seemingly logical move is okay and allow queen f6, is the idea that the queen f6 is just the start of something good maybe for black, that the queen, good for white, that the queen is a target. Let's just examine another variation after f4. Say knight g7, h4, say takes here, queen f6. Again, it seems quite dangerous. If black tries to generate some chances, it should be okay for white in this position. I mean, engines really quite like white's position. I've still got some dynamic opportunities, but okay. I mean, this position is not entirely clear cut, but nevertheless, I think there was a concern about Queen F6 creeping into my thinking quite considerably in this position. That taking and Queen F6 should be stopped. I found what I thought was an amazing resource, Knight E4. So using the idea that of course takes, check, and I win the Queen, but also I'm threatening Bishop C4. Okay, so but things go a little bit astray here. Instead of this trump card of the G file being used, my resources are all around the place. That's a big problem. He's got no king safety issues now after taking. King takes. He finds a move which addresses Bishop C4 adequately, to my horror. There's other moves as well. I don't think this is that brilliant. He plays Knight D7, and I can see I'm starting to be a bit concerned. Things are not as clear cut now after this Knight D7. This position I play now Bishop B5, which isn't that really that good. The best move is actually going into a self pin with Knight C3, but this requires, after Queen F6, to find Bishop C4 here, takes, and now Queen C4 here, and this should be okay, but it's not ideal from the earlier scenario of just using the G file. Unfortunately, okay, I play Bishop B5, which is still okay actually, trying to get to the 7th rank, but it's losing a pawn now. After D takes, I should have just played Rook takes D7, and again, after Rook D7, allowing the check again is just the start of an opportunity, not a major thing to fear. Even losing a pawn here, this position is liked a little bit for white from an engine point of view. White controls the 7th rank, has threats like E4 on C5 and B7. So something like this, after E4, it should be okay, but unfortunately B5 does mean, no, actually black's getting some chances here. So my resources have been derailed by this variation, by the brilliant looking move, Knight E4, unfortunately. And I'm still trying to work out, as I only played last time, I'm still trying to work out why on earth did I play Knight E4 and not F4? What was actually the real concern? I think part of the real concern was to take out of the equation Queen F6. And I'm starting to think, well, that wasn't such a big deal. So F4 looked a lot more promising. So we went along this route where we have this position. After D takes, I actually don't even play Rook takes D7, which I think is necessary to have anything here. I play Queen C4, which is a terrible move actually, which I'm about to find out quite abruptly. I want my Rook on the 7th, but I should play, the best move is now Bishop takes D7, just losing a pawn outright. It's terrible, but Queen F6, I've actually succeeded in making Queen F6 check very, very effective. He's just winning this pawn. So I play Rook takes D7, trying to keep some pressure going. But unfortunately here, he's not taking this pawn to now Queen C5, but my Queen is actually blocking in the Bishop. So he just plays A6, and to my horror, I'm just losing a piece. I lose pretty shortly after this. I'm just losing a piece. My Bishop's trapped by the Queen. So from a good position, I just blew it. I feel I've blown this game. I had a good position here, potentially with F4, but I come up with a brilliant resource Knight E4 in inverted commas, brilliant, to stop Queen F6. But Queen F6 is a potential target. It's not really a great defender of the king side if I'm blasting down the G file. So, okay, if this is insightful in any way, this game, that's great. I thought I'd share it from last night. And congratulations to Steve Swanson. He's now 9.5 out of 10 with a ECF rating performance of about 235, which is stronger than a lot of IM ratings anyway. So congratulations to Steve and to Hertford for doing so well as well. They're probably on the way to winning the league now. Comments or questions on YouTube? Thanks very much.